Hello everyone. Sorry I've been gone for a while. Just been busy. Here is the history and future of chocolate cooking lesson plan. This is the lesson plan I'm doing this week. The vocab lesson I'm doing today is going to get observed, so I have a second lesson plan for just that lesson, but I won't show that to you guys. You don't really need to see all the extra things for this stupid format I have to do. Sorry, I really hate this format. Anyways, and as you know, I plan out my week-long lessons because we do themes. It just makes my life a lot easier, especially as a pre-service teacher. It makes my life 10,000 times easier. Here's the I can statements. We are doing English and math standards this week. And most of the I can statements you guys have already seen. If you want to pause and read through them, go ahead. The big ones that's different is right here on day 4. Because we are doing a cooking lesson, I'm going to teach them how to bake cake box cookies, which I've never made before because I tend to not bake or cook. That's what my husband's for. But we'll see how it goes. It's a pretty simple recipe, I think. At the end of the lessons, the students will be able to compare and contrast 2 articles, perform a strategy to help them with double-digit multiplication, which they are really struggling with multiplication. Some of them. A lot of them are getting it. Some of them are still struggling. But double-digit, they really struggle with that. So I'm going to try and simplify it for them. And we're going to bake cake box cookies. They'll also be able to work together as a team, which I am really trying to work with them on. It's almost the end of the year and there's still issues. High school, yeah. Okay, the formative assessment strategies are the observations, the comprehension questions, vocab reviews, scholastic action quizzes, and worksheets. Some challenges are technical difficulties because you know how internet is, answering higher level questions, teamwork, and math grouping. Sorry, trying to get this coffee in me as quickly as possible. Okay, so let's just jump down to the lesson. Here's the vocab. We are going to do a card flip math game, which I was going to teach them how to play today, but we got done super quick with our lessons last week, so I taught them it last week, and they absolutely love this game. They're high schoolers, they're very, very competitive, so anything that makes them competitive, or anything that's competitive, they absolutely love. So you get into pairs. Each person has half of a deck, and each person draws a card, and you have to multiply the numbers together. So they loved it so much that later that day and then the next day they did it as addition. And then I'm going to open it up to subtraction today if they want to do subtraction. I'm going to kind of give them the choice today because it's Monday on what they want to do, multiplication, subtraction, or addition. And then as I pull them for the vocab pretest, and then afterwards we'll do the vocab lesson, which usually we try and do it within the first hour, but because she's coming in later for my observation, we kind of have to push that back, so that's why I kept that game there. So they have something to do in case she's running late. Okay, so tomorrow, we are going to read 2 articles, The History of Chocolate and A Future Without Chocolate. I really like how Scholastic Action does the compare and contrast thing in their magazines. It's really good, especially since one of the essential elements is to compare and contrast. Oh, sorry. So, and I'm going to do a little jigsaw with this. If you're not sure what jigsaw is, Jigsaw is a reading strategy where students are split up into groups, and they are given either a section or a section of a chapter or a different article, and they read it, and then we come back together as a whole group, and they teach the other groups what their article or their section was about. So I'm going to try that out today. As a student, I never really liked Jigsaw, just because I want all of the information that I can possibly get, and I always felt like groups would leave out important information, just because I'm a big giant nerd. So I've never liked Jigsaw, but I feel like with these group of students, it's going to be really good to help them with their own communication skills, which is something that they really need help with, and it kind of takes the workload off of them as well. They don't have to all read both articles. They can work together to read one article and then talk about it. But for this, we have the Anticipatory guide, which is kind of like my DRTA lesson, but in worksheet form and with different kinds of questions. Just the format is different, but it still deals with predictions. I personally like DRTA better just because I play more of a role in it. I'm just not doing I feel like I'm doing a lot of worksheets in high school. That's kind of a thing. So I personally don't like this, but I wanted to try it out because I do have to do this for another lesson for my curriculum class. So I'm going to try this out. I have an anticipatory guide for a future without chocolate. I have their predictions first, and then after they read it, they're going to fill out the facts part. So if most of the world chocolate comes from small farms in Africa and South America, they can put agree, especially if they disagree up here. So yeah, it just shows that. And then there's a future without chocolate and the history of chocolate. So for both articles, I'm still debating if I want to just give it to all of them, or I printed enough so each group or each person gets one of each. I'm still kind of debating on if I want to do that or if I just want to stick with the anticipatory guide for the specific group. I probably won't decide that till that morning. But as they're in groups, I'm going to be rotating between the two groups to ask comprehension questions, which are right here. So my check for understanding questions for a future without chocolate and my questions for the history of chocolate. This is just for me to carry around so I don't forget my questions because I tend to do that a lot. Let's see. And then we'll come together, each group will discuss it, and then they will complete the put it together activity at the end of the articles. Another cool thing Scholastic Action magazines do is provide activities within their articles, so that's cool. And then for second hour, we'll do a math lesson about multiplying tens, which I have this right here. So I was trying to figure out a way on how to teach double-digit multiplication because that's something that they're really, really, really struggling with. They don't understand. They can't just, for tens, they struggle with understanding that anything for one specifically, they struggle with anything times one is itself. So they still struggle with single digit, but they do need double digit. We're at the point where the higher level kids are ready to learn double digit, but I wanted to make sure our lower level kids weren't getting left behind. So I created this strategy. I couldn't find a good double digit strategy for kids with CI, so I kind of created my own. So I have 10 times 1, how many groups of 1? And I kind of have a picture to go along with each side, so they have a better time following along. I did sun and moons, it was just simpler. I didn't want to do 1 and 2, like step 1, step 2, because that would be too many numbers. I wanted to use pictures. And then how many groups of 1? So this is where you start, this is where you go, and now you put them together. And then I do that for a couple. And then the next day, on Wednesday, we're going to do it with 11s. So then on day 3, we will watch how it's made. I found a YouTube video, or an episode on YouTube of how it's made, and it talked about the Hershey. So I'm going to break them into small groups to discuss the video. And I have that they will get discussion questions, and they have to talk together. Whoops. And then we'll come back as a whole group to review, and then for second hour I'll do the 11s. And then day 4 we're going to do groups of 3 or 4. We're going to go into the kitchen and do cake box cookies. Day number 5, which is Friday, we will do the decoding a message. Some of them love it, some of them don't. It just depends. I'm so modifying this lesson a lot, just to make it easier for the lower level, and then maybe make one harder for the higher level kids. We'll do that during the vocab test, and then second hour they're going to listen to the articles and do the quizzes. And that's when our progress monitoring really comes in, because we keep track of the vocab and we keep track of their comprehension. And then we're also going to Craig's Cruisers that day for senior celebration. So if we have time, we're going to do Kahoot for Star Wars Day. One of my students really loves Kahoot, and she really loves Star Wars. So I kind of promised her that if we have time, we will do that. So yeah, that's the lesson. You guys don't really care about all this other stuff, but that's my lesson. Oh, I forgot to show you. Here's the cake box cookie recipe. It's also called cake mix cookie, but I like the sound of cake box cookie. I don't know, to sound better. So each student will get these. So yeah. Hope you enjoyed that. I don't know how well everyone's liking these lesson plan videos, but for me personally, it helps me really think through my lesson for the week. Trust me, I was completely lost last week. Like, there was too much going on last weekend for me to actually do this, and I kind of struggled throughout the week, to be honest. But I just found that doing these videos really helps me, and I hope it can help another pre-service teacher or another teacher come up with lesson plans. I really don't like this format, but it's what I have to do as a pre-service teacher. So, yeah. Do you want a little sneak? You know what? I'm going to show you a little sneak peek of what I'm planning next week. Oh, whoops. Kaboom! Yeah, it's a really heavy lesson plan, but that's it. So give me suggestions down in the comments below. If you want me to videotape my lesson planning process, I can try and do that. I do a lot of my lesson planning at the high school, but I can figure out a way to do that if that's what you want. How I think through lesson plans, stuff like that. But my time's almost up, so I'll see you guys later. Bye.